Hey everyone, Ashley Mailloux and Nicole Russo here with the Daily Racing Forum, taking a look at one of the feature races this Saturday out at Oaklawn Park. It's not the main feature, Nicole, but it is the feature for the fillies. It's the Grade 2 Fantasy. $750,000 is the purse for the 3-year-old fillies, going a mile and a 16th on the main track. And as we take a look at the field here that's been assembled, 10 fillies in total, with some big names in here. Quiet Side maybe being one of the main ones, as well as Simply Joking, who we haven't seen in quite some time.
Yeah, and Simply Joking, we'll discuss more as we go through this field horse by horse, but she had a little hiccup in her, preparation, missed a planned start. So I think a big key to this race is going to be just how well you think she's ready to run off a little bit of a break, while some of these others in here haven't missed a beat on their way.
And then you can see there's some other horses in there, as you mentioned, missing a beat. They might have missed that beat last time out in the Honeybee. That includes Take Charge Milady, as well as a few others. We'll take a look at the time form U.S. pace projections here for the fantasy. And if Simply Joking wants the lead, it looks like she could potentially have it. On debut, she was close to the action in the 6-furlong event. And then stretching out in the Silver Bullet Day, she was the pace setter. Now, I don't know how easy it's going to be. I do feel like Necessity likes to be forward from the starting gate. We know Quiet Side, she is able to work out a trip typically where she can be close to it. So I don't know what your thoughts are, Nicole, but I don't know how far in front early Simply Joking might be.
I don't either. And, looking at the past running lines of a couple of these horses, Take Charge Milady, in her races this year, she has sat back a little more. But in the past, I think she's shown an ability to be a little closer as the situation dictates. And I think breaking from the rail, they might want to let her run on a little bit into the first turn and secure some position. I'm not saying she's going to be on the lead with Simply Joking, but I think she might be a bit closer than some recent figures suggest.
You can see the LP flag is attached to the 2 California Sunset, who maybe could be further off of it, but I don't know. The race 2 back, Nicole, she was a little bit closer to the action. We'll jump right into the here with the number 1, Take Charge Milady, who I think kind of talking about what you hit the nail on the head with is when you look at her maiden special weight score in the Martha Washington, she was more forward, at least kind of after the opening quarter, or even the half in those races. And I just think maybe last time out, it was just compromised from how the race played out early.
Yeah, a very good effort in the Martha Washington to stamp herself as a good filly in this Oaklawn group in the division. Defeated Quiet Side, who she'll see again here, but then had a good bit of trouble in the Honeybee. She was in tight at the start. She was in traffic while she was trying to get some running going, and she'll look to rebound here for Kenny McPeak and Brian Hernandez, who won this race last year with eventual Oaks winner and Horse of the Year, Torpedo Anna.
The 2 California Sunset we mentioned does have the LP flag attached to her. She was 3rd last time out, exits the same race as the 3 Kinsey Queen. And I don't know what your thoughts were on the race. I just thought it was okay. She was favored in there. I would have liked to seen a little bit more. And then the question for not only her, but the other filly that I mentioned is the short rest, 13 days.
Yeah, coming back a little quick. And, I think you hit I think that was the correct word there. Just sort of okay, a decent effort last out. I do think she's interesting as she's shown the ability to both be a little closer and come from off the pace. And I think this race will set up, as we saw in our projector, for her to come from off the pace.
And I think when you compare her to the 3 Kinsey Queen had the better race. As we look at this filly, she was second in that race. She was in 6th early. She only had 2 rivals behind her. She made a move. And I think when you compare her trip to California Sunset, I wish California Sunset would have been able to close like this filly was able to. And the winner was tracking in 2nd early and made that move. And the fractions weren't all that fast.
Yeah, so she, considering the fractions and how the race set up, she gave a very nice account of herself. A very well-seasoned filly who has had some kind of big racing experiences in those races as far as dealing with traffic, dealing with some more sizable fields. I like that seasoning. And she's from the very exciting first crop of McKinsey, which has produced a couple of Grade 1 winners and a couple of Oaks and Derby candidates.
The 4 Princem 2, also part of a race that a couple of others exit. So we talked about the race on the 16th, won by Legal Empress. Legal Empress was the runner-up in the March 1st race, and this is the filly that went off favored, and she seemed to get a similar trip to the race 2 back, where she was close to the action, just a couple of lengths off the pace, but we weren't able to see her finish at all in there. She kind of backed up and was pretty well defeated.
Yeah, she had some traffic in the first turn, and then I think that she was just kind of it just sort of took the starch, took the punch out of her, and she just didn't finish up well. I like that she's picking up Johnny Velasquez aboard. And 2 starts back, she really took to a fast Oaklawn track.
And she got a 75 Buyer speed figure for breaking her maiden, the 5 quiet side. We'll jump into her most recent race, a really nice performance in the Honeybee. And as we take a look at this replay, a lot of eyes were on Mahima, who you can see here looming up on the outside, the big gray, but quiet side really kicks on here. She ends up being much the best, draws clear by a length, and finally worked for her. I felt like she needed to get a win like this. She had been close in some of her races, but with a better trip, she was able to kind of navigate her journey a lot cleaner than some of her other races and ends up getting the victory.
Yeah, and she's become very professional. You look at her past performances, and I mean, she tangled with Champion Immersive. She tangled with presumptive Oaks favorite Good Cheer as a 2-year-old. As a 3-year-old, she's really been progressive moving forward from her first start at 3 to her second start at 3. And she's been able to work out her trips. Yes, luck is always involved, but sometimes nice professional horses are able to make their own luck and do what the rider wants and work out that trip. And, you know, she's really showing signs of being that kind of horse.
The 6 Necessity, she was 4th in the Honeybee, which might have been a little bit of a tall task, knowing that she had just broke her maiden. But the way she broke her maiden, they had a lot of confidence. I remember that race, Nicole. She was a pretty big price on the morning line. She went off favored, and then she dominated in the maiden score. And I think when you look at her Honeybee performance, 1 pace is pretty accurate, but some fillies in there couldn't get to her. She sort of held her own, and maybe she can improve off that effort.
Maybe, yeah, just sort of an even race in the Honeybee. She looks like a filly who can be tactically placed and then hold her own, as you said, down the lane. Maybe this is one that you want to look at in the exotics to get a piece of it if she, you know, continues to go the same way and just sort of, you know, hang in there and gut out a piece of it.
The 7, Simply Joking. We know Whitworth Beckman's had a very good year with these 3-year-old fillies. She's certainly one of them. Undefeated. She made that late start as a 2-year-old, came back just a few weeks later to win the Silver Bullet Day. That was back on January 18th. And Nicole, how do you assess that, knowing that we haven't seen her in just over 2 months?
Well, the upside for her is while she's been on the sidelines for 2 months, she has been so flattered by the form of the Silver Bullet Day. Bless the Broken and Drexel Hill, who were the 2nd and 3rd respectively behind her, have both come back to win stakes since then. Simply Joking did miss time with an illness, did miss another planned start perhaps at Fairgrounds. You see about a month between her February 8th and March 2nd works on her work tab. She has come back and worked along nice and strongly, and Whit Beckman, you know, given the options, has placed her here. So I think that says something.
The 8th, Baytown Butterfly, this one for Paul McGinty, was 3rd last time out in that 75,000 non-winners of 2 life claiming race at Oaklawn. The big question for her, I feel like that was going to be the distance. She's primarily sprinted in her career. Her 1 try at a mile was at Monmouth, and she didn't fare too well.
Well, the distance and the class, certainly. I think this is a better class of filly that she's been facing even in her prior stakes attempts.
The 9, Princess Aaliyah, up next. This one for the coach, Dwayne Lucas and Nick Juarez, who had some success at Colonial with a different horse, though, American Promise, and now maybe on the Oaks Trail with this filly. We'll take a look at her most recent start, where she really blossomed here. She was 3rd in her prior efforts this year, both down at Oaklawn Park, and then she came back here, was forwardly placed, was able to hold off a late charge here from the runner-up, and she just does what she needs to do. But I think the nice thing to see is that Buyer speed figure. She went a lot faster than those other 2 races and still was able to finish.
And the thing I circled about this filly is she might be the best bred filly in this race as far as a route running 3-year-old filly. She's by Into Mischief, the sire of, you know, very good fillies, including Kentucky Oaks winner and champion Pretty Mischievous. And she's a half sister to Eskimo Kisses, winner of the Alabama Stakes. This is the direct female line of Winning Colors, who Wayne Lucas, of course, trained to win the Kentucky Derby, the most recent filly to win the race. So when you look at this filly's pedigree, all you see is classy 2-turn grade 1 fillies.
And she looked in that replay to be a really big filly. So, you know, she's obviously bred well, and she has the physicality to get the job done. And we saw that last time out at the 2-turn distance. The 10, Running and Gunning, is going to complete the field. And Little interesting. 20-1 on the morning line. Typically not what you see for Flavien Prat and Steve Asmussen teaming up here. Now, she was a dominant winner in the Sunland Park Oaks, but I think maybe the deterrent, and that's why you see her at 20-1 on the morning line, is the figure that came back.
Absolutely. I think, she has done nothing wrong to this point, but this is a very good litmus test for her in terms of some of the classier fillies in this division. She does pick up Flavien Prat, as you mentioned, for Steve Asmussen, who's won a couple editions of the Kentucky Oaks.
She's well-traveled. She'll be making her 7th start, and it looks like it'll be her 6th racetrack to this point. So interesting to see what she can do down at Oaklawn Park. But that's the field of 10 for the Grade 2 Fantasy. We talked about it. A lot of purse money on the line and big implications here on terms of the Kentucky Oaks and who we could see on that first Friday in May. And Nicole, curious to see which direction you go in. I feel like there's a couple of horses that are vying for the top spot, and you end up going with the Honeybee winner, the 5 Quiet Side.
Absolutely. I really do respect Simply Joking, but I think off the layoff, I think you've got a couple of things that could happen. I think she could be keen early. I think she could need the race and flatten out late. Depending on where she finishes, it could move her forward points-wise and form-wise into the Kentucky Oaks. But in terms of this race on Saturday, I just think Quiet Side, who has been a steady progression and who has been progressive in her starts this year as a 3-year-old, is more well-positioned to win the race on the day.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you about those two fillies when you compare them, Quiet Side and Simply Joking. That's why I gave Quiet Side a little bit of a nod and put her a little bit higher than Simply Joking, just because of the long layoff with the 7. And then Quiet Side, I think she has a huge shot this week, and I'm just curious to see if she can put back-to-back consecutive strong races together that include trips to the winner's circle, because it was a little bit of a long drink between those trips to the winner's circle. So I'll go in a different direction in the top spot. I was so impressed with Take Charge Milady in the Martha Washington. I know it was a compact field. I'm not going to skate around that or get cute, but she was pretty much a dominant winner of that race, and I think she was really trip compromised last time out and just not ideal. So hoping she can rebound, and the other thing that she will offer is value. So that's why I use her on top here. She's 6-1 on the morning line, but we agree. We'll take a little bit of a pass on Simply Joking. Obviously, though, one to watch as this race unfolds this Saturday at Oaklawn. 5-10-7-6 for Nicole. She's that big price underneath in the 2nd spot with the number 10, and I'll go 1-5-7-6. Best of luck this weekend.